So happy that so many of you have come out tonight. Bruce Lincoln over here is my co-executive producer of Silicon Harlem.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for coming out.
My name is Clayton Banks, and together we created Silicon Harlem because we believe in the fact that there are people in this community that care about the digital economy, and it's evident when you look at an audience like this. And our mission, our vision and mission essentially is to transform Harlem into a technology and innovation hub, much like Silicon Valley or Silicon Alley or Dumbo. And we're seeing progress, great progress. So I'm gonna let Bruce talk a little bit more about Silicon Harlem while I go grab our panelists.
Silicon Harlem basically was founded approximately a year ago, and it's, as Clayton said, the idea was to take advantage of the fact that with technology being the fastest growing sector here in this city, we wanted to make sure that Harlem was recognized as a place where there's tremendous talent now entering into this industry, but also the fact that we uniquely bring what is characteristically Harlem: arts, music, culture, and you combine that with technology, we think that's a very potent mix. And then having a space like this is a 20,000 square foot multimedia entertainment center. It's got state-of-the-art AV, state-of-the-art internet. So what we've been trying to do is build a nexus, a gathering place where all different groups who are focused on technology, especially as it can be applied to social good, can come together. And tonight what we're interested in having a discussion about is there's a lot of talk about mobile, but what we want to do is peer into the near future and talk about where this is all going. So that is under the rubric of mobile life. And we feel that basically, as you start to talk about mobile life, you're getting into the fact that technology basically has to do with every aspect of our lives, from arts to entertainment, to education, to business development, economic development. So we want to basically have an interactive discussion where what we want to do is really think about what are the opportunities, where are the barriers to entry, but where are the opportunity points where we can start to now really move this forward, because we want to basically make sure that Harlem is not left behind as New York City becomes a smart city, but that we're in the forefront. So the other thing is, you're welcome to, have your drinks here. You're also welcome to have your food here. So it's meant to be this kind of community space that really allows people to come here and feel comfortable. And the designer of this building and this space, Carlton Brown, envisions this as Harlem's living room. So, this is your living room tonight. Feel free to make yourself at home. And we're really looking forward to having a lot of fun this evening. We're going to be joined at 8 o'clock by Gale Brewer, who is our new Manhattan Borough president. And she's a big supporter as well. So I'm going to get off the mic for now.
I'll get on.
And Clayton's going to get on.
So Bruce may have already talked about a few things, but and our panelists are here. Funkmaster Flex is parking. Yeah, he's parking in somewhere around here. So he'll be here in a very short time. But we have a host committee, and I just wanted to mention the host committee because we can't really pull all this off without the help of many people. So I'm going to name the organizations. If there's somebody here from that organization, feel free to raise your hand so that people can recognize you and talk to you afterwards. Most of you have probably heard of Blacks in Technology, ran by Mike Street. He's been very supportive of Silicon Harlem. The Harlem Business Alliance, I think, there she is. Christina over there is the leader of over at Harlem Business Alliance that does phenomenal work with startups and young folks that are trying to, make their way in the business. Stewart Films, which is one of our partners that curates a lot of films for what we're doing. Black Techies by Kyle Wanamaker. Urban Latino, the New York Urban League, Digital Diversity Network, I think Kathy Johnson is here. The Caribbean Cultural Center, Incubate NYC, Harlem Co-working Group, the Web Academy, NAMD, Black Creatives, I think they're here. Black Creatives over there, which also manages the LinkedIn account, so we encourage everyone to join the LinkedIn group that Reginald and Candace manage for us, and they're also just great supporters of Silicon Harlem. And of course, We have our volunteers. Some of the volunteers that were checking you in, they're probably still out there. Maybe some are in. But that was Hubert and Rachel. I have to mention that there's somebody here that I haven't seen in a long time, and I'm a little bit emotional about it. But my friend Ira, if you can raise your hand. Ira and I go way, way back, and I hadn't seen him in 15 years. So it's like I've been looking for him for a long time. And to run into him here has just really blessed me. So good to see him. We have our institutional friends, City College and Columbia University. Is there anyone here that can speak about MIST? I don't know where Kareem is, but I'll just quickly say, if you want to book an event, you want to call, you can certainly get in touch with us, Bruce and I, but you can call Kareem, who's the tall guy walking around here, that can book your event, and they do things from holiday. Oh, Andre's here. Andre, come on up. Come up and say a few words about the place. Andre also is a operations guy here at MIST.
Very few words. Just welcome everybody. I'm the incoming executive producer here. My name is Andre Robinson. So I have cards. Welcome. So who's been here for the first time tonight? Oh yeah, look at all of those new potential customers. So we hope to see you all back here all the time. We're going to be going under renovation for about 60 days or so. So about the mid-July, you're going to see a sort of fresh coat of paint on everything and some new furnishings, and there'll be an internet cafe outside, so feel free to come in and hang out, and we look forward to seeing you all back here often, and not only just at Silicon Harlem, but throughout the rest of the week. Any Harlem residents in the building?
There you go.
Oh, well, there you go. So anyway, lock the doors. We got to get all their phone numbers before they go. Okay, welcome to MIST, and we're glad to have you here. Thanks, Clayton.
Thank you. Andre worked with Harry Belafonte and a whole lot of other celebrities, so he's a big add to the facility. Do we have anyone from Mobile Week here? Rick or Margaret? Rick, come on up. Say a couple of quick words about Mobile Week. We partnered with Mobile Week for this event, and they were very helpful, instrumental in everything that's going down tonight.
Hi, everyone. My name's Rick, and I'm the Director of Operations for Mobile Week. I just want to say really thank you guys for welcoming us. We're based out of San Francisco, and we took the leap to come over to New York and try and connect with the community here and produce this conference, and the turnout's been well so far. So really, thanks Clayton, thanks everyone here, and we're excited to get this going and to be here for many more years to come. Thank you.
Thank you, Rick. I do get a chance to do one quick plug here. I had told some of my friends, or people actually notice, I've lost a lot of weight since October, about almost 50 pounds. And I'm very grateful to that. And where's Joe? Joe, the trainer. Where's Joe? Joe, the trainer, he's responsible for that. He put me through a regimen that we still work on, and I'm very grateful to him for helping me out on that. So thanks for being here, Joe. All right, so with no other announcements to make, unless there is some announcements that somebody wants to make that we want to hear. Anyone have anything they want to share that's important? Okay, good. Let's move on. We've got our panelists here. We're talking about mobile life. That's the title of this panel tonight. As I mentioned, Flex is parking. He'll be here any moment. But we have two esteemed people here that are successful in their own right and in entertainment particularly. So I'm going to introduce Rodney Williams first. Rodney is CEO and co-founder of LISNR. LISNR is spelled L-I-S-N-R. He was recently selected in 2013, you always got to put the year in there, for Ad Age's top 40 marketers under 40. Okay, and is aiming to change the way consumers interact with audio as an engagement platform and an intriguing advertising model for brands. Prior to LISNR, he spent 4+ years at Procter & Gamble, leading a number of brand management, digital, and point-of-entry media efforts, often being noted as one of the most innovative young talents within the company. During his time at P&G, he became the first marketer to be issued a digital patent. 3 total P&G patents awarded. And for those of you who know about patents, that's not easy to do. Prior to P&G, he spent 2 years in business development for Lockheed Martin and 4+ years leading a collegiate digital agency focusing on consumer acquisitions and CRM management. Now here's where I really got blown away. Rodney currently holds an MBA from Howard University, along with 3 additional degrees, including a master's in integrated marketing communications, a BA in economics, and a BBA in finance. It's kind of an underachiever. That's really great, Rodney. We value education in Harlem. Additionally, Rodney is a true connoisseur of vintage mopeds with pedals,
I like mopeds.
trap music, and champagne oysters. LISNR is a mobile application. So here we go. LISNR is a mobile application that gives you a new way to connect with your favorite artists. You'll unlock exclusive content created by the artists you love just for listening to their music. If you have the LISNR app on your mobile device and play a LISNR-enabled track, you'll receive a notification about newly unlocked content, such as a backstage video or an unreleased track. That's the founder, that's the man, that's Rodney Williams. Next up, we have Tiffany Hardin. And Tiffany Hardin has a clear mission. Her mission is to provide a platform of value for the arts and entertainment industries through strategic branding and consulting. Earning her BA in entertainment management from Columbia College in Chicago in 2007, she spent the earlier part of her career in the music business working at Hustle Period, Good Music. Some of you folks know about that.
Yes, whoever said that. Yes.
Violator Management and Monami Entertainment.
Monami.
Pronounce it for me.
I love it. Monami.
Monami, thank you.
Thank
In 2008, she transitioned to work in advertising at Translation. Anybody know about that? Jay-Z, that type of thing? Translation, where she worked from being an assistant. Hear me good. She went from being an assistant to the CEO.
Well, not of translation, but yes, thank you.
Assistant at Translation, CEO of her own company as well. She now is, or she was managing clients such as Bud Light Platinum, Bud Light Lime, and the Brooklyn Nets. Currently, Tiffany is focusing full-time on her latest venture, Gild Creative Group, a boutique creative management and consultation firm focused on delivering cultural currency across client businesses through music, social, partnership, and brand strategy. Recognizing the need for a new generation of managers that can navigate both the advertising and music industries, GCG develops and activates influencer strategies for brands and agencies such as Microsoft, Target, and T-Mobile, and manages the careers of creative talent such as Karen Civil, who's a media personality, Chris Casanova, an independent artist, and Trinity from BMG. Additionally, Tiffany serves on the Ad Color Advisory Board, an organization dedicated to professional development and championing diversity in marketing, advertising, and media. She also is a part of the executive team for Music Unites, helping to service at-risk youth through music initiatives, and is a former co-founder of Sound Central, an organization focusing on the convergence of digital, social media, and music. Personally, you can find Tiffany contributing to her alma mater throughout the school year, guest lecturing and supporting student projects and connecting them with valuable internships and networking opportunities in music and media industries. That's Tiffany Hardin, right there.
What a great introduction.
Thank you for being here. So we wanted to just sort of frame the panel. We're going to get you guys out of here very quickly here, but we want to frame the panel with a presentation, just a couple of quick slides here, Mike, we want to get going. And while that's being teed up, and Bruce, you can kind of help us out with this, because I've got to go check on Flex. But what we wanted to do is talk about our sort of vision of mobile life and what we thought, sort of what that means in moving forward and where the opportunities are. That's one of the things that we were really focused on when we were preparing for this panel is we knew all of these experts here were going to talk about their products and their services and what they see, and we wanted to add to that and sort of frame that so that we could see, sort of what this means to us each personally and in our business careers. So,
Wait a minute.
oh, well, there we go. See how much help this is? The future is here. You can move on, Mike. Let's get right into it. So, from our perspective, when you're thinking about mobile, obviously, you're not connected to nothing. So when we started thinking about the definition, we came up with an untethered, personalized control of seamless interactions with people, places, information, and things. What that essentially is saying is that we're moving in a world where you can control everything seamlessly, everything's always on, and more importantly, your handheld device becomes that smart device that can make other devices smart. It can make you smarter. It becomes much like an assistant. We all kind of went through the Siri phase where Siri was talking to us and all that kind of thing. That is the beginning of digital assistants and those type of things. So it's a smart world that we're moving into, and Bruce and I are determined to make sure that Harlem becomes what would be termed a smart community throughout. So, Mike, you can move to the next slide. Bruce, you want to talk about lifestyle application?
Yeah, so basically the idea of mobile life is that it's the convergence point where a number of different trends come together. And we see that being the Internet of Things, the ubiquitous internet, mobility, social media, personalization, data-driven decision-making by the next generation internet. And the idea is that basically your device is how you will connect to not only other people, but to data that will basically be personalized so that you can make use of it. So we see that as what will happen over the next 3 to 5 years within the context of that time horizon. And what we're sitting right now actually in a smart and green building. This building basically is carbon neutral. It has a fiber optic network that does all sorts of things within the context of the building and within the context of this space. So when we start to think about buildings, cars, clothes, wearables, and devices coming together, that's the idea of a smart city.
So now, we talked earlier quickly about Internet of Things. What this means, at least from our perspective, is you're looking at devices that are equipped with, obviously high-end smart CPUs, but also sensors, so that no matter where it tracks where you are. It can actually send you data back and forth from things that you encounter. So the internet is growing. The next generation internet has to take in consideration the equipment that you use, for example, a refrigerator, being able to tell you when your food is low and order for you, and all those type of things have to be connected. Your car, all the diagnostics of your car and information about where you've been or where you're going, and make predictable things about your behavior. So everything becomes smart. And your mobile device essentially is going to be that central nervous system. It's going to be able to, if we do this right and we get the policymakers together and the manufacturers to work together, your devices will be able to make your other devices smart. So that's your TVs and your refrigerators and your washing machines. All those things become part of the internet. So that's where we see this happening, and the cloud becomes so much more important. In fact, probably not only Forrester but Gartner all predict what they call the personal cloud. The personal cloud will become more important than just about anything that's been going on with the internet. So that's a trend to watch over the next 10 years. Next slide, Mike. All right, cultural implications. Bruce, why don't you take this while I go check on Flex?
Okay, the idea is that mobile life as a technology is socio-cultural. So the idea is that it's a part of everything that we do, from what we like, as in our predilections, to what we don't like, to our attributes. So it brings together data, content, social, sensors, chips, the Internet of Things, what we call at the university this idea of the visibility industry, where basically you'll be utilizing data, but it will be made in such a way that you can make use of it and do actionable things around it. And then the idea of personalization and social value. So we see that as how all these sorts of trends will be coming together. And is that our final slide, Mike, or is there one more? And the opportunities we see is that the next evolution user experience will be to leverage intent inferred from emotion and actions to motivate changes in end user behavior. So it'll be home integration, vehicle integration, which is the idea of this automotive internet, gaming, voice and video, and then the smart machine era. Contextually aware, intelligent personal assistants, smart advisors, and autonomous vehicles. And what we want to do now is sort of, with that as the overview, we're now going to focus on our innovators who are actually, innovating in the whole area where entertainment is driving these innovations. So that's why we hope Flex is here and he can come and sit down, and then we can get started with our conversation. So that's our opening, and just bear with us for a few minutes, and we hope that Flex will be here, and then we'll get into the program. And basically, each one of our speakers will sort of talk about themselves, the business they're building, the innovations that they're developing, and the ideas that will lead to an interactive discussion so that we make this really like a group thing kind of activity. Thank you so much.
Would it be a good idea if we just sort of spoke about what we're focusing on right now, so that
Sure,
we
why
can...
don't you start, and we'll...
Absolutely. What good is having an idea if you don't want to execute on it, right? So anyway, it was a wonderful introduction that Clayton did for me. I really appreciate you guys being here. It's really exciting for me to be in Harlem and to be in this space. This is a huge space, so a lot of us, it's our first time here, so hopefully we come back again and support businesses like this in our neighborhoods, in our communities. But as you said, my company, Gild Creative Group, it sits at the cross-section between music and advertising. So a lot of what I do is talent management, and then the other side of that works with brands and agencies so that we can both figure out how can we use social, how can we use digital, how can we use companies like LISNR so that we can spread messages that are going to be impactful to an audience. We work with influencers so that we can do that. One of the really interesting things that's happened recently for one of my clients, Karen Civil, is that we launched her app, and it's downloadable on iTunes and Android stores. So please, if you want to keep up with hip-hop news and celebrity and entertainment, please download her app. But it was really interesting because the company that approached me about it is a developer named Top Fan, and I grilled Top Fan because as a manager, it's my job to make sure that whatever it is that my client is doing, we're profitable in doing it, right? So having an app just to have an app just doesn't make sense to me. So Top Fan is kind of made a twist with their app. They would make the app for free, but what they would do is include Karen as a part of their influencer network. So when they went to brands, they could say, hey, you can do some really great engagement. Here's our influencer network. And what happens is that if a brand signs on, or whatever the activity is, or if I even bring a brand to the table, we can all work together and make sure that there's money coming to the table and money's in Karen's pocket. So that was one of the really exciting things for me as a talent manager to have. Welcome, Flex.
How are you?
Hello. So I don't know. I think that's one of the things that makes it very important to understand when you're a talent manager and you're working in entertainment, how you can use mobile, how you can use social and influencer opportunities to help your clients gain a little bit more money versus just kind of creating it yourself, or especially if you don't have the distribution network to get the funds to you. While you were gone, Clayton, we were discussing just some of the things that we were focusing on.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So, as promised, Mike. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to introduce our third panelist here. And I'm not going to talk about his whole background because most of you probably know a lot more about Flex than I could ever talk about. But I will talk quickly about what he's been up to lately. Last year, around this time actually, Flex launched the official DJ Funk Flex app, available for iOS and Google Play. The DJ Funk Flex app was the exclusive way to listen to Flex's latest mixtape, Who You Mad At? Me or Yourself?
You're right. You're right.
That's right. I know I'm right. I'm mad at, I don't know who I'm mad at, but anyway. Which featured 40 songs from hip-hop's biggest artists, including Kendrick Lamar, Chris Brown, Meek Mill, French Montana, A$AP Rocky, and more. The DJ Funk Flex app includes MC instrumentals from hip-hop's top producers, such as Kanye West, Swiss Beats, Pharrell, Hit Boy, and DJ Mustard, with the hottest beats for up-and-coming artists to rhyme over. Fans can access all of Flex's freestyles from the past and the present and the future. So, ladies and gentlemen, a big round of applause for Funkmaster Flex.
Thanks for having me.
So, I want to get right into some questions. But before we do that, Flex, do you want to have any opening remarks? Anything you want to say? You're welcome to.
Happy to be here, and apologize for being a little late, and I'm ready for action.
Okay, let's do it. So one of the questions that we had for the entire panel, and you guys are welcome to ask questions. Let us just get a conversation going, but you'll have the opportunity to ask your own questions to the panelists about your interests. So the first question that we wanted to sort of run by was, in all of your view, Rodney, Tiffany, and Funkmaster Flex, what do you see as the sweet spot for opportunities in mobile? Let's start with you, Rodney.
It kind of, well, first, thank you guys for having me. It was kind of the conversation I had backstage with Tiffany. I think what Funk did with his app, he's an example of being a world-class content creator. And I think a lot of entertainment companies, the moment they realize that their content is valued, they can become their own distribution point. And that's really what was that a huge example of, is him being his own distribution point. I think that's the biggest opportunity. Right now, influencers and artists and entertainers, we're putting our content on YouTube and a number of other platforms that we don't own, we can't monetize. So I think the evolution is, how can we actually own that, actually own the data, actually own the monetization of it. And I feel that that's the biggest opportunity.
Tiffany?
We're going straight down the road.
Wow.
I agree. I completely agree. I think anytime you're in a position to be your own distribution point, that is the best thing. We've seen this model before with independent artists, like a Macklemore or whoever. Like, anytime that you're in a position to do that, I think that's a very smart thing. I think another sweet spot with mobile is, exactly what Silicon Harlem is about. I think the discovery aspect, being able to, I feel like if there was a way that we can nail down discovery in a way that was a little bit more fluid, that could be something really interesting in our lives. Earlier you were talking about, the personalization, all of that good stuff. I think if we can discovery not just in music, but discovery in sort of all parts of our lives, really.
That's interesting. Funkmaster Flex, what do you think?
Well, I can only speak from the personality point of view. I found it important. Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, great pieces, but I didn't really have control of those followers. As long as that platform is hot, they'll follow me. No one's following me on MySpace no more. So I think I wanted to actually, me and Tat, we built the site first. So in flexwetrust.com, I do about 2.5 million uniques. I do about 15 million page views. That was really the first piece. And then we launched the app off of that because we felt that the mobile, the growing of the iPhones in the mobile space, we started to notice on Google Analytics that, 70% of the site was becoming mobile traffic, and it was about 30% desktop. Before, it was like 50-50. So for me, the radio is a great platform, and it's my first love, but the amount of people who still have a radio in their kitchen or in their bedroom is a little slim. So I think that radio listening has become, especially riding in the car, phone as well. But so I wanted to build a platform for myself to still reach people and to reach newer fans. So I presently do that now for MS Communications, which is Angie Martinez's site, which I launched, and then there's DJ Enough's site, who had his site prior, but we're helping him, do everything else. So from the personality, point, I don't think you can survive with just Twitter and Instagram. The kids are more savvy. You got to have a destination where if they're into you, they keep coming and they stay, and you can reach out to them and they can love you. You love them back.
Excellent, excellent. It's funny how you mentioned the statistics. Some of you may have read that Facebook came out with their quarterly earnings recently, and they acknowledged that they have more advertising being sold on mobile than than desktops or any other platform. So mobile is definitely taken over when it comes to advertising revenue and all that kind of good stuff. So when we talk about mobile technology and mobile life, one of the things that we all sort of struggle with is, should we be doing sort of a niche play? Should we do something that's really sort of a niche when it comes to the topic or the subject? Or should we be doing something that is a little bit more cross-cutting from a topical perspective or anything else? Bruce, did you want to frame that a little bit more than what I've done?
Well, it's just this idea that mobile will basically not simply be the only thing that we do, it will be the platform across which we do everything. So the idea is, what are the different areas of opportunity that you see coming together that you can draw upon?
Tiffany, you want to start?
Quite frankly, I would, but I don't think I understand the question. I'm just going to be completely frank with you. So you're saying that, as mobile is a part of like the mix of our life, right? What else comes into play with that when it?
I think what we're really trying.
Yeah, I can help it out
Help me
a little
out.
bit. And maybe I can help. And basically, it's in terms of, the many data points that play into what we know about a consumer and how that may have changed by a mobile device.
Okay, so like from the advertising analytic point. Okay, got it. Thank you. I appreciate it. I'm with y'all now. Okay, go ahead.
Helpless plug, right? We launched a beta product last March, which is an app. And it's not really how we make our money. It's not really what we're up to. 90% of the revenue that we actually create is actually from the mobile platform that we created. So we created a number of different products, and one of them being a ultrasonic frequency that I can merge into media, like music or television, and I can start to ping and track different amounts of data in terms of your consumption, and then we can optimize the type of content we actually show you. So we've taken this engine and actually put it in a number of other parts and other apps so that we can optimize that content and you can actually make more money off of it. That's the majority of what we do, and that's an example of exactly what you were saying in terms of data.
So when I hear this, I think of it from an advertiser's perspective. When I think of like what I can use, right? So like when I'm going into a company and I say, hey, this is what I'm going to use to help spread this message, that's something that's very interesting to me, where I can go back and say, when I, do some social listening, or when I do these types of things, I can take a listener and say, we may not use this part of the company, but the beta product that you just mentioned, that might be interesting for, a Microsoft or a 1 million square feet, where they can use a part of that so that they can learn more about their consumer. And I think that from the consumer side, I don't think I'm the best person to answer that, but from a sort of advertising side and what advertisers care about, I feel like anything that gets them closer to understanding and knowing their audience and the analytics that can come from these different apps, whether it be how they purchase in-app or anything like that, I think the more analytics that come back from that, advertisers can know how to reach audiences.
One of the things that's coming, we're relaunching our application, the full version of it. And what it will do is start to track or connect to a lot of your activity. So imagine as you listen to music on Spotify, Pandora, your car radio, everything, it will start to then go get really engaging content that's tailored to you. So a lot of folks are calling this the evolution of the entertainment channel. Mm-hmm. The channel that I would watch is very different than the channel you would watch. It would be actually tailored to what you listen to in real time. So imagine you open up, you'll see the last 10 things you actually listen to and the hottest content of the day being brought to you, maybe from Complex or Pitchfork or someone else. So that's an example of a real-life application that's going to be coming in the next 45 days.
Congratulations.
So, thank you.
Very nice. Let's move on. You know what I will say though, having been in cable for a long time and working with networks, we come from the perspective that content is king, And I've come to realize that's not necessarily true. Data is king. And what you can do with data will then inform your content, because content without data is clutter. So that's my perspective. We can debate it. That's a debate we're going to have one of these days. But there's a lot of content I've never seen and probably never will, but data will always be powerful. Funkmaster Flex, you talked about the traffic that your site has, and what I'm curious about is what is your strategy around, acquiring, your readers and acquiring new followers, to your site, and also retaining them. What are you doing to get them to come back all the time? How often do you have to freshen up the content, read your data, all that stuff?
Well, I kind of I looked at it when launching the site and the app as do or die. I didn't look. It wasn't originally to make money. It was look, I'm 47 years old, and I'm I hold a certain crown that I want to continue to hold. So, you have to do your research. When I was a kid, Alexander's was the thing, and that's where you shopped, and it was a big deal. And that was the hot spot on Fordham Road. And then, it changes. Then, at that time, people didn't buy. You used to only buy big department stores. You never bought mom and pops because you wondered that receipt ain't going to be no good in a month. That store's not going to be, how am I going to return it? And then we started to trust buying online. Buying online grew bigger, that it was okay when you start to get it the next day. You see the FedEx truck come up. You start to trust it. So for me, it was a growing process of changing not just how I reach people, but keeping them there. And I learned at an early time when I launched in Flex We Trust that people expected me to be a rap site and play a bunch of rap records, and which there's nothing wrong with. But I also, me and Tat, we were the first kind of to notice that, a kid who likes the new Kanye record, he cares when, his favorite celebrity goes to jail, or his favorite celebrity is sick, or there's or someone's going to the moon today. It's the same thought process. And so I think 3-4 years ago, people used to go to different sites for different information. So we came up with the concept that we're going to cover everything, and it was actually an accident. I don't remember the female governor who had got shot, and I saw it on Twitter, and I might have called Tat, and I said, we should post this. And we posted it as she passed away, and then my Twitter followers started to correct me and said, no, she's still alive. So we went to the local news channel and started to post what the local news channel was saying on Twitter on the site. And I think that's what made me realize that people care about breaking news. So, how I build and get bigger, we probably doubled since last year. My app, we do about 15 million page views. We do 500,000 uniques a month. It's, a kid's attention span is, man, he's on and off like in an hour or 2 hours. And you gotta feed his need. And you gotta think too that it didn't matter about my name. You can have a name. Look, I ain't gonna say nobody's name. How many people you know, and you know their brand, you go to their website's trash. They're not getting no traffic. Because after the name and you come there, you gotta give content and you gotta, keep their interest. So for me in growing, look, if, the apps came along, which made sense after the websites. And I think even before the apps, I think what really sparked the app is the mobile the website's mobile site was getting very, very, very popular. But I think the kids got bored of like, I'm gonna go through Safari, then go to the site, and this guy's mobile site's trash. The app was a little cleaner. So I think that there's gonna be other devices that come along. I think to be successful, if you always know where a 16-year-old kid's mind's at, you could be in this game forever. You just have to really listen. And you can't listen to the 100 things that they're telling you. You got to kind of narrow it down like, all right, those 20 feel good. Those 80 don't feel right. I'm going with these 20. And I think if they dictate the world, you could laugh at them, you could tell, you know, a 16-year-old is, that's how I do it. I want to cater to where that young person is at, and then because he stays with that for the next 4 or 5 years, he becomes 21, and I want to be in his sweet spot.
So we're going to open it up to the audience. While we're doing that, I want to, you know, Bruce, did you have any questions for this panel
No, I
or anything
think
you
this
want
is
to
the right
comment on?
segue.
Okay, so we'll start here. I know.
So the world is obviously a globalized place, and emerging markets have a huge appetite for Western culture, especially hip-hop culture. What are your guys' thoughts on the emerging markets of Brazil, India, and their appetite for mobile apps and hip-hop? How do you reach them and their kind of place
your
where they're
name,
at?
please.
I'm Ramsey Ismail from Washington, D.C. with NYC Agape.
Thank you.
Ronnie, you want to start?
Oh, okay.
Tiffany?
Right, I love y'all both were like, yeah. Sure. From a brand perspective, you know, it's really exciting. You know, there's Brazil actually has more festivals. There's a lot more going on there. So when it comes to mobile and brands, I know brands are going to go there because, you know, anywhere people are buying things, that's where you want to be as a brand. So, but how they reach those folks and how much they've tapped into like how they consume. From an emerging market perspective, I think it's really interesting because I don't think that, although the world is global and we know it is from our communications, I don't know if we've ever actually really tapped into like the behavior of the consumption. So like with hip hop, we know that hip hop is popular everywhere. We know that you can be a DJ and get it popping out in Europe and Brazil and all that good stuff. But when it comes to like the talent making money, I get it. When it comes to brands and how they can reach consumers via mobile and be connected, I think there's a lot of different ways. I personally just don't know, but I think the best way if I was to have like an app like LISNR, if I was to have these different technologies, I would just really like tap into the influencers in those spaces and see how it feels to be the person that brings everybody together. Whether it's the use of the Sonar app, like finding your friends in real life or like that sort of thing. I think if anything, it would be great to see some of those artists really be those influencers that can get Americans involved in the sort of Western way and use like the same sort of technology. But I feel like I'm not giving you a great answer, but I just feel like the brands need to find a better way to work with those emerging markets, whether it be the concerts or the festivals or whatever that is.
Are we talking about the artists that are outside the country?
How do you stay relevant in China?
I mean, I notice on my site that 20% of the traffic is from outside the country. So I think that the people who you would think I'd be able to fix a mic by now. I think that 20% of the traffic is from out the country. So what I have learned is the tastemakers find you. Like I can tell if I'm putting up an exclusive that I got in New York that people want to hear nationally. I think I have like from Canada and Russia and London, especially London. London's very aggressive on the site, especially with hip hop. They gravitate to the site, and I can tell, they know their music, they know what's going on. So for me, the app and the site does allow me to be, is to catch the tastemakers. Like I feel like, man, a kid with a phone, and who's aggressive about hip hop and music and news and knowing what's going on, and a phone too kind of gives. People think that just women like gossip, men like gossip too. They just don't want to be seen looking at it. So with that phone, you can kind of be like, oh, so she got a boob job. So I think that aggressive people find me. with the app and the site. So I do think that that's, they're not coming to the club that I'm in New York. They may hear me on the radio, but my radio show, my radio show doesn't really reflect what music came out online that day. So there is a difference. So I think that's how they find me.
Yeah, the global part of technology, I think, is completely tapped open, especially in entertainment. And I say that because right now, I feel like global, it's by accident, right? Or it's by the tastemakers. They're kind of influencing what is being heard in London. But the reality is that you probably can see it better. I always say any successful artist or entertainment or any content monetization in the US could probably be tripled if you actually gave it a little attention. Because again, they are all just imitating what's going on here. So it's really, if you gave it a little bit of attention, I'm one of our company's a partnership with Rock Nation, and you'd be surprised about just looking at Africa and the ability for them to want our content, but they can't get our content because Spotify isn't there or Pandora isn't there, and they got to hunt for the content. But if you just gave it to them, you can monetize it pretty well.
Hi, I'm Mbessa. My question was, you mentioned something about entertainment channels, and I wanted to know how movies and music in particular, in terms of owning them as a consumer, will play into that. Or, like, will it be obsolete? Will it just be cloud?
Yeah, I'm not a crazy fan of streaming music, mainly because the music that I like to listen to is so new that it's just not there. So, I am the guy on those websites doing the quick download or trying to see what's new and what's fresh. And then, yeah, I can wait 30 to 45 days before it gets on the radio or somewhere else. So, and be surprised, my behavior is very similar to that 16-year-old. The person who's streaming music is the 30-year-old who's not cool enough to go find it. Sorry. It's a little harsh. It's a little hard for the street. So, in my aspect, yes, I'm going to continue to own music to stay where I need to be. That's just what I'm gonna do.
I guess the main question is usually like, how does the 16-year-old kid who always wants to download music, I'm 19, I can never imagine only streaming. How does that fit into the future? Is there a place?
Well, I think that's what our new app is going to try to do, right? So you download, you find, a collection of hot new music that you put on your phone through, I don't care what source. It could be a mixtape app, or it could be on your iTunes. We're going to take that data, what you just listened to, and we're going to go scour the internet for things that would be catered to you. So we're going to take the fact that you got it from that blog, or the fact that you listen to this type of new artist from Chicago, and we're going to go find the next person or the next piece of content, the next article, the next music video that are going to be tailored to you. And we're going to use as much data we can, because that's the true creation of your entertainment channel. And yours will look completely different than mine.
We have a question here. Like you said, David King. Go ahead.
Sure. Hi, guys. Thanks so much for being here today. My name is Goddess Rivera. I'm a director of social media and content at a digital agency, Otriad Marketing. This is kind of a two-part question, since we are discussing hip-hop and that culture, and also another question that really leads into what Flex talked about with his site. As a director of content, I'm in charge of different clients and their overall campaign. So we read a lot into the Google Analytics, and a lot of that stuff ends up eventually showing us an organic revenue process. We have to monetize our content. So we have to elicit a response or conversion. And so I want to know, with so many followers and so many people and unique visits, how, Flex, are you monetizing that? Are you using it just for brand lift? Are you using it as an email marketing campaign to get people to donate, volunteer, buy? I'm just curious how you're monetizing that.
Well, I was with the Complex Network where they were monetizing the site, which was very cool. But my radio station has created a Loud Network, which they monetize the site, in terms of ads. I'm a little funny about, I don't like to tweet about products. I don't like to, integrate or make posts about stuff. I I want to be able to say that your product is trash if I feel like it's trash. So I'm okay with the banners, and I'm okay with you know, on the app, the banners, you know, music. I don't, you know, you can't pay to have your artist or their song. You know, if I like it, it's there. If you're my enemy, I like it, and I like it, it's going to be there. You know, it's not. I consider myself a messenger, not the dictator, even though I know it may not appear like that when I'm on the radio sometimes. But so that's how I like to monetize without going too far. I think, you know, companies that pay for tweets, you should be embarrassed if you have to ask a celebrity to pay for your tweet. You should be asking him, what's wrong with my product that you don't want to tweet about it? You know, so that's the way I look at it. So that's how we're monetizing the site right now.
Find that more of your access come from mobile or from desktop?
I'm noticing of course, the transition that's going on in the space is that people are trying to, especially the agencies, to properly monetize the mobile without distracting the person who's using the, you know, the app. So that's becoming a question. But I do notice that it is, you know, the smart brands understand the mobile. And not even just so much paying for it, but just that I want to figure out how to integrate my product onto your mobile. You know, the dumb brands, you know, they immediately start their conversation. I'd like to put some ads on your desktop. Good luck, B, because that desktop is almost out of here. But I'll take your money, though, if that's what you want to do, and you're not focused that this mobile is popping. So I do notice it's like a transition, you know. I mean, I don't know who to use. I mean, the brands that can make you, I guess everyone, like Geico, the brands that can make you think about them at all times and resonate and laugh, and, you know, those brands get it. So I love being in, you know, I've been, you know, Ford, Dre Beats, Ciroc, you know, those are some brands that are not just involved in my site, but involved in what I do. You know, I love how innovative they are with stuff, and that's what excites me. If you talk innovate, the minute somebody's talking, could you tweet or put this on your Instagram? I'm tuning you out.
We got a question over here, way over here.
How do you do? My name is Gabriel Millman. I'm not affiliated with anyone necessarily except New York City itself. A lifelong resident. And I'm curious to know, you know, we're talking a lot about globalization and the exportation of, at this point, hip-hop culture. You know, and obviously Harlem is a epicenter of exporting this aesthetic in terms of marketing and, you know, anything else. But I'm curious to know, in terms of the siliconization of Harlem.
All right.
What exactly does this mean for the neighborhood itself, and, you know, in terms of maintaining a cultural, you know, integrity to the heritage of Harlem? I mean, is it just being sold up the river?
Quite the opposite.
Okay. That brother, go ahead.
Quite the opposite. What it is, it's the natural evolution of where we are now and what we want to do with technology. And one thing that people don't know is that Harlem has always been in the forefront of technology development. Even going back to radio, certain policies were adopted because of the concern people had about radio being able to get jazz out there. One of the first projects to put the internet into schools and develop websites was here in Harlem. So it's only fitting that what we do now is galvanize this creative community who now is going to take the technology and come up with new ways to think about how it can be relevant to our lives, but also how it can create new markets. I mean, I think if you think about hip-hop came out of the fact that a number of things weren't happening. They weren't teaching instrumental music in the schools, but at the same time, Walkmen were being developed, Casio watches and the keyboards, and the young people basically used that technology and created something new. So one of the things that we know that happens in Harlem, as it is the idea of our culture, is that people create new things with the technology. So now we're starting to come together where at this juncture, with all this creativity, new things are being developed like LISNR, the kind of insights we're getting from both Tiffany and Funkmaster Flex. So what we're saying is that we're going to be in the forefront of leading this as it can be applied to, one, the social entrepreneurial development of our communities. So we're going to have the next generation internet. We're going to support the growth of companies both here, but we are going to transplant this. And we're going to take this both to other communities like Baltimore and Washington, Chicago, but also London. So this is the start of something that is going to be a major global initiative. And as it's grown in a year, it's going to grow exponentially 1 year hence. So this is what we're all a part of. So it's not a sellout thing, and there's no siliconization of Harlem. It's the natural evolution of Harlem, because Harlem has always represented the technological epicenter of the African American community. We were rural, we came to New York and moved to Brooklyn, and we moved to Harlem. We've now spread out, and now we're going to do this in cyberspace.
We have, go ahead, Bruce. Bruce Lincoln. Now, we're going to refer to our special guest as Funk Flex, not Funk Master Flex. Funk Flex.
Oh, either one.
Let's keep it real. All right, so we have somebody that wants to just make a quick comment about the same subject here, and then we have a question over here.
Hello, my name is Ramona Ham, and I work for a mobile company where we do everything. We do analytics, we do engagement, we run distribution. And to answer that question, a lot of people are not aware of the fact that African Americans and Hispanics are actually at the forefront of spenders in the mobile ecosystem. So we're actually leading the spending patterns, and advertisers need to follow our behavioral patterns on the mobile device. So Silicon Harlem is a great thing. It's not going to leave Harlem in like the past. Harlem and other ethnic areas, if you want to say, are actually leading mobile trends. Advertisers need to catch up to the data points that we're creating in mobile. So we're not left behind. We're actually early adapters in the mobile space.
Well said. All right, we have a question here, and I'll move back over there.
Good evening. Damon Cleveland. I work with Clearly Innovative. We develop mobile applications, both enterprise and small mom and pop solutions. My question for the panel is as follows. We spoke about content being king, and to your touch point, I believe you said you feel big data is important. There's a huge undercurrent of users that are shying away from sharing their personal data because of privacy issues and concerns. When you talk about items like big data, applications that focus in around delivering content based on big data, the question that I have for you guys is, how is it that you plan to deal with this shift in the marketplace where people are less likely to give their data and ultimately impact the applications that you guys are talking about, which heavily rely on these data points? So very interesting topic I'd like to hear you guys talk on.
Yeah, I think that's partly true. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the app called Tinder. That broke all the rules. And I tell you this is because everyone said that they could not launch a date app that would know your exact location and then find another person that you would want to date based on what's around you. But they did. They did extremely well. So it's one of the fastest growing dating apps, but it was all on the premise of taking your location to showing a female's location to a man. So think of the privacy and data concerns. But what they also taught that it fixed a core problem for a consumer. And I think that's what has to happen. You can't collect data for the sake of collecting data. You have to collect data with the sake of providing something that has never been provided before. And I think that's our goal.
Do you want to comment on any of that? Any of you? Tiffany or Funkflex?
Beautifully. He said it
Okay.
beautifully.
We have another question over here.
Hello, I'm Hassana Tud from Viacom and from the music and entertainment side. And I had a question for Rodney. Does your platform incorporate destination and or programmatic marketing campaigns so that you can track, right, where the user is at that time for the end user or for the client?
Yes. So yeah, we take into a number of what I would call data feeds to provide the right content at the right time. What we've been doing in our beta app and what we've been doing in a lot of other apps has been really good at monetizing content. But the reason why we've been able to monetize content extremely well is because something magical about getting the right content at the right time. So I show you an example of something that we piloted at the Dallas Cowboys Stadium. But imagine that third quarter, you get up and use the bathroom, and before you get back to your seat, you get a recap of what you just missed. That's powerful content based on the data, what I just know about you. And if a brand is there, they're all over it because it's worth pretty much. That's an example.
How you doing? I'm Julius from the American Association of Advertising Agencies. Quick question to piggyback off of something that Funk said. When you said if you can stay relevant to a 16-year-old, you can pretty much stay relevant, period. So I want to kind of shift this to education a little bit. So at the 4As, we have 2 high schools, first of its kind, that focus on teaching kids about everything that we're talking about, advertising, media, and mobile, creative technology, all of that stuff. At that school, I've seen kids literally gravitate to this type of learning in a way that's engaging and teaches them how to use math, English, science, social studies, and all the other things in a way that they can actually apply them to be the very people that you guys see on, in front of you and in the audience. But to your point, though, Flex, if the 16-year-old kid is the one that brands look to get the nod, right? Then how is it that we can take some of this learning and the learning that's happening within that 16-year-old's mind and then funnel that money through the brands and through these technology companies that are using that information to their advantage and then put that into education? Do you see that being a platform that you guys can possibly expound upon?
I think I could see how that happens, but I mean, I can only speak for myself at 16. I mean, let me see, what grade was I in? What grade are you in 10th? You in 10th grade? 10th grade? I mean, I was Grandmaster Flash, Run DMC. I mean, that book wasn't the Beastie Boys heavy, so with the kid, the kid is going to be more aggressive with the thing that he loves, which is the music and the game. So yes, I think it can be used, to that young man or young girl who's interested in that. But I can only speak for myself. At 16, I mean, Run DMC made for the brand. We're talking about brands. Run DMC made my Adidas, and then the Adidas became popular again. Man, that kid wasn't picking up that Adidas if he didn't see Run put it up in the air. I mean, it's resonating now. I'm wearing it, and it's 2014. So I still think, things resonate through that music and through, you ever see a kid on a video game, man? You could sell him anything when he's on that. Like, yeah. If it pops up on that screen while he loves it, try to give it to him when he got that book in front of him. I don't know, So that's my opinion, but that's what I think. I think it still resonates through that music, that entertainment, or the thing that he loves.
I think to Flex's point and to your question, I think maybe there could be an opportunity as someone that owns content or has an app that you have these data points, that they're really into this, that, and the third. Do you go to, or do you use that with a brand and say, this is the educational initiative that I want to do? That could be an interesting way to work your personal brand in, and then also work in education. That could be a very interesting thing. And maybe that brand, as a part of, maybe they want to say, we want to pay you to promote this content, or post this video, or do whatever it is that you do with that brand. And your answer could be, yes, but I also this is what I know about people that work with my brand, and maybe we can do this on the education side, and hopefully work with the personalities and the data points to bring that sort of learning into that space. I think that's a great idea.
So we're going to take more questions. So I know you're antsy, but I believe the Manhattan Borough President is here. Is she here? Come on up here, Gale Brewer. Gale Brewer, our Manhattan Borough President. Madam President, would you please come up here and feel free to say a few welcoming words. It's so good to see you.
Hi, I'm Gale Brewer, and I just love being here. If I could sit and do hackathons and apps all day, I would be very ecstatic. And I just love being in this room and thinking about these issues. Hi, Joly, how are you? And I know that this is a particular time, but let me just give you a couple of things that we're thinking about. I chaired the technology committee in the council when I was there for about 9 years, working with many of you in the room, but certainly your two leaders. And we're trying to do something, push it further, just like you are, not just Silicon Harlem and Mobile Week, but let me give you an example. There's a lot of data available, which wasn't available 10 years ago, partly because we passed, with help of Bruce and others, Clayton, the bill that says open data. Every single city agency now has to put onto a portal all of their data information. And what that means is that's great, but then I don't know, you may know exactly how to access it, but nor do the community organizations. So we're going to be working in the very near future, hopefully with some funding, to be able to work with the community boards and you and others to have people in the neighborhood be able to map what are the Vision Zero, what are the high school students, what are the seniors, what are the whatever, anything you want in the neighborhood, so that when you go to a meeting, you'll be able to help plan for the Harlem community or whatever community you live in. Right now, we don't have any of that data. The developers do, and the city agencies do, but it's not in a format that we can look at locally. So if we can pull that off in the next couple of months, I really feel that with your assistance and your input, we'll have made something possible for data in the neighborhood to help us plan. And the second thing we're doing is we work really hard. We're trying to figure out, which you already know, how we can push this Wi-Fi for digital divide issues as far as possible. We've looked a little bit at the parks, although to be honest with you, I'm not really happy with the franchise agreement for that, and Bruce knows it better than I. You know, this whole thing with the payphones is available. There are, I don't know how many payphones in New York City. Verizon, I'm sure there's somebody here from Verizon, so I'll be in trouble. But Verizon said no, they're not going to deal with the payphones. So now they can be whatever the community wants. Do you want it to be a hotspot? Do you want it to be a payphone in addition, et cetera? And we haven't heard a lot because there's no do-it commissioner right now. So we haven't heard a lot as to what's going to happen with that. But it's another example. And then we're just trying to just figure out generally on the small business, which is what a lot of you are concerned about, how we make sure that the small business community, as entrepreneurs as well as users, is fully taking advantage of whatever happens. Now, I have another topic that you may know, which is, that I don't know what's going to happen with Comcast and Time Warner. You may have a better idea than I do. But one thing I do want, if it goes through or whatever happens, I want that deal to have to go through the Franchise Review Commission in the city of New York, because then we would have more say as to what happens in the future for public access, for communities of color, for low-income families, for schools, for libraries, and the list goes on. Otherwise, we have zero input on this absolutely huge, I would call it almost a monopoly. So that's something that we should be pushing for, and apparently it has to do with how the deal is constructed, whether they have to go through franchise. So we're advocating, writing, pushing that it be something that goes through the public here in the city of New York. Thank you, you're fabulous, and I can't wait to listen to more. Thank you, Clayton.
Thank you, Gale. So we do have time for a few more questions. We want to get out of here relatively quickly, so I'm going to ask you to ask your questions. Let's be concise. All right? We don't need a speech. We don't need like a whole diatribe. Just be concise. Ask a quick question. They'll give you a quick answer. That way we can get more questions in.
Thanks, Clayton. Kenneth Watson, digital strategist, mobile strategist for various agencies. I have my own consulting company, KO Consulting. Talking about innovation and the next thing, right? What do you guys think about things like iBeacon and other platforms, for lack of a better description, that will help really figure out how to monetize, if you will, a group at a certain location? So music festival, concert, you walk by this one beacon, you get a pop-up on your app, call to action to do something. Are you guys looking at anything that's next like that, or not yet?
Good question.
as far as I'm concerned, if my talent can benefit, if my brand can benefit from something like that, I'm always open to understanding and hearing about things like that. I'm not sort of in a position to like, create the technology. I'm in a space where I want to work with it and make sure that if I'm working with a brand or if my talent can benefit from it, then I'm always looking for the next.
So I mean, I think some of the parts that you're hinting on is this whole idea. I like to call it trigger-based marketing. In one hand, it's proximity-based. So if I go buy a certain shoe, what if I got a notification by it? That's been done with GPS or Wi-Fi or a number of other things. I think, that's one of the places where we're playing. The way I sent that notification because you went to the bathroom was based on an ultrasonic frequency that you couldn't hear. It's what an audio beacon would be. But the mobile phone has given us a lot of CPU power in the back of our pocket. And I think that has tons of opportunity for a brand or for a content creator to talk to their consumer exactly when they want to talk to them. It's like Flex dropping a bomb because you were actually near the event that happened. That's way more appealing than me having to go find it. That's an example, right?
Yeah.
Okay. We have another question here.
Can you imagine a bomb just going off in your
Going off,
pocket?
I mean-
Whoa! That'd be amazing.
Hi, I'm Cheryl Hill from the Harlem Film Company. I hear a lot of talk about short form and audio content. What about feature film content and mobile? What do you think about that?
How much video are you using on your platforms, Flex?
I'm sorry?
How much video are you incorporating in all your platforms?
Well, I don't limit it to, audio or video. What I notice is it's what's super compelling or what, I mean like an hour? I mean, with my audience, I can't keep them that long. An hour or an hour and a half, or I don't see it as happening, at least on my side.
But what do you think about it in that application?
I was at a panel at South by Southwest and was just talking about long form film. And once you get out of the movie theater, you may be watching a movie at home, you may be watching Scandal in a couple minutes, but you're going to have your phone out. And I think it was I don't know if it's like every 15 minutes, or every 10 minutes, you're right back to your phone. So there's a lot of film companies trying to figure out how could you own that screen as well. So how could you make that screen a part of the viewing pleasure? So if you are watching a scary movie and someone called, how about it actually calls you? That's an example. But yes, I think it's a huge opportunity because when you are watching that film, you have no control over that second screen today.
I think, yeah, for film, because Shazam hasn't really done anything for film, really. It's just been TV.
No, well, we can do film.
Oh, excuse me.
Sure. My name is Tyrese Johnson. I work with Oracle. And we talked a lot about mobile today as far as the phone, but I wanted to ask for all of the panelists, where do you see or how are your focuses affected by a new growing trend with wearable technology, which is something I think that may be a huge future growing field when it comes to mobile? Like, can you talk a little bit about how you feel wearable technology will affect your different areas of focus?
That's a great question.
It is.
Recently, I saw something. There was an event where there was 3D printing, and it's wearable technology, and I thought that was amazing. I thought it's gonna, depending on who's kind of first to move with it, that's extremely popular. It could be a very interesting space for fashion, but I think there are different companies, like Samsung's doing a lot in this space, just trying to make things interesting to wear, and whether it be a watch or necklace, whatever it is, I think it's something that we as a society are trying to get used to. And I think when someone nails it, it's going to be a very interesting space. But I don't know. I'm not into Google Glasses yet. I'm not into I'm just not into it. But I think I think people are on their way to nailing it. But it could be interesting.
Anyone else? Okay, we're going to take a couple more questions. By the way, it's talking about hour-long programming. Do you guys know we're going to be showing Scandal here tonight? We're going to be showing Scandal here tonight, so if you want to watch it on the big screen, we're going to be showing it right after this panel discussion. We're going to take 2 more questions, then we're going to let the panel wrap up with their own sort of summary, and then we will get to the bar and find the sangria and all that good stuff. So we have somebody right here in the middle.
Hi, I'm Alexis. I'm a web developer, and I've been hearing more so about the monetization of mobile content, but I'm wondering about social capital as far as utilizing unofficial networks of like Harlem. I live in the Bronx. I'll be very interested to see how social capital can be grown in the Bronx. So how do you feel about the strategies behind that? Have you seen strategies behind actually getting social capital? Because there's one thing for a 16-year-old to, I feel like, to know how to get on Twitter and everything, but they don't really understand what they're using half the time. They don't know the terminology. They don't really know how to access it. So how do you feel about growing social capital as well as monetizing capital?
Tiffany, you want to start out there?
You know, a lot of what I do is about social capital, but from a personality perspective, from like that person being the brand and what we want to do there. I haven't really thought. You know, it's funny. I haven't really thought about like an area of town being like a part of that social that social capital that you're talking about. But there's sort of a responsibility that goes along with it. So Karen Civil is one of my clients. Like she's a beast. She is a beast when it comes to her social, just being on it, being aware, having engagement with her. I think one of the ways that what we do to help with that is, show different assets or different sides of her personality, different facets of her personality. So it's not going to be hip hop all the time. You're going to see Live Civil, which is more of the, holistic, healthy living, fashion, beauty side of that. So when it comes to other people being educated in that space and knowing how to use their own capital, and I feel like it's a journey. Earlier Flex was talking about his journey. Like he said when he realized people were going here versus here, or they wanted to talk about this too, and he realized that he can add something to his capital, his social capital, to cast a wider net. So I think that when people start responding to you based off of that, that's when you're able to say like, hey, brand XYZ, or if that's what you want to do, I'm really representing all these different facets, and this is how I'm growing. This is how people are growing with me. And then you can, make money, not make money. I don't want to say it like that, but you can, work with those things, work with those passion points that other people have to, help tell a similar story that brands typically want to buy into.
Are you trying to figure out how to monetize like your own, like if you're involved in something, or you being on Twitter, or what you're
like your
doing,
personal brand?
your personal brand?
Probably been under the wraps of mobile technology, but it's accessing mobile technology. Like most of Twitter, for example, is mostly people, African American people, those are main Twitter users. So they have this social network, they have this social capital, this information sharing. So I was trying to get down some ideas on strategy sharing as far as utilizing that social capital.
Oh, so like if Ford wanted to tap into Black Twitter or something like that? Is that what you mean?
Something like that. Something along the lines of how do we tap into it for ourselves and grow it ourselves so we can use it for ourselves, benefits of ourselves.
I think if I was to touch on it, maybe it's the fact of like us as a community just aren't aware of how socially influential we can be.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's you got the 16-year-old, you have your kid that just wants to go on Twitter and Instagram and talk to his friends. But in reality, his network of friends could probably do something or change something, excite something, spark something. And I think that's one of the biggest problems about us as a community in technology. I was at P&G and I remember looking at a stat and it talked about the first adopters to Twitter. And I remember, Shaq was #1 at one point in time the first 2 years. And you looked at the first adopters, they were all African American, they were all us in the community, they were party promoters. But they didn't understand exactly what they were doing by being there first. And the capital that they had created. And today, I mean, it's still not their engine, it's someone else's. So I think that's a plague or something that if we understood how we could use it, it could be incredible.
In developing, though, like, I don't, your Instagram page, whatever it is, or I'm just using things that are out. You know, your passion has to come through of all of this. I mean, I see people on doing things. You could have 100,000 empty followers and you're about nothing. Like it serves no purpose. You know, like that. I gravitate like bloggers and people that I find are people that that end up coming into my circle and sometime making money. Like I love a person on Twitter just speaking their mind, going nuts. And to his 500 followers, I start following him. I want to see, is this guy going to explode? It's like, I mean, I can give you examples. There's a kid on Twitter, his name's Officially Ice. I don't know for Can of Paint. I started following him. He's just, how he described himself is, I'm just a person trying to keep my check engine light off.
I think he says he works on foot action.
How are you gonna do that? And I want to follow you and see how you get there. And then I made him a guest blogger a couple times. You know, there's a kid in the Bronx. His name is the Loopy Blogger. He's a guy who just is tired of what goes on Dykeman and men paying for surgery for women, and it bothers him. And he makes videos on the toilet every day. And I know he's high coming down in the morning, so his aggression is so nuts. And I mean, I know some people, the high is scaring everyone, I'm sorry, but his passion comes through. Like, I referred him to Ciroc. I said, man, you gotta see this kid. He's hosting parties. He's bringing 400 people into the club, just speaking his mind. So I think the best, you know, for social networking, and if you're young, the best thing that has happened is, you know, the BETs and the MTVs of the world, and everybody used to govern these things and what personalities you see, including myself. You know, you used to turn on BET, you look at Big Tigger, whether you wanted to or not. You had to watch him. I got to listen to Flex, whether I like him or not. Like, you know, what's great about the social networking is how it's grown and people's personalities grow out of there. So when the passion comes through, the right brand finds you, and you know, maybe there's money involved, maybe there isn't, but people will partner with you, and you'll get work or jobs or make money.
We're gonna have a question here. Last question's there, and then we're gonna get that out of here.
Okay, my name is Michelle. I'm from Verizon, and my question goes to piggybacking on what the young man said. How do we learn from what the previous generation didn't do, which is capitalize on this particular industry for those 16-year-olds coming up and make them not just consumers, but manufacturers and lead in a very strategic way? And how do you guys envision as influencers doing that?
I think Rodney's a really great example. Because he, you know, he's a young black man, but he's a creator, and you know, you just said he worked at P&G, but I think he's a really great example of seeing something and saying, you know what, I can do something with that. And if we can continue to cultivate minds and saying, you know, these are not the only avenues that you're allowed to go into. Like, you can, you know, be in tech, and it can be cool and it can be interesting, and you can use it for you know, educational purposes, or you can just, you know, lend your skills to that space. You know, I think that's a really great place to start. So I think, you know, when it comes to us understanding this space, understanding that the opportunities are endless. I don't care if you're making an app. I don't care if you're making a website. I don't care, you know, what it is. Like, knowing that there's some level of creativity and skill when it comes into being a creator, and if this is the road less traveled but is a rewarding road, then, you know, we should be helping our young people understand that it can work for them, even if you are in music or advertising or whatever the case may be. There's something for you in this space.
All right, final question over here.
Hello, everyone. My name is James. I'm from Local Mobile Guru, and my question is for Flex as well as the other panelists. I'm asking, why are you marketing to 16-year-olds? They don't seem to have any money. And two, what about your current base who've been listening to you for over 15 years and their changing needs? How are you using mobile data to, I guess, give better product offerings to them? For instance, myself, I own a home, I own a car, I own life insurance. You know, Hot 97, I've never heard anything whatsoever from them to market those type of things to me, but I've been a listener of your station for about 15 years. How has that changed?
Well, for me, you know, why the 16-year-old is important, and moving on to there's a lot of my fans who've grown with me and are like 35 now. I notice the ones that stay with me the most and are the ones who are aggressive on social media and keeping up with what's going on. You know, I'm great for the 40-year-old trying to feel 30. I'm all up your alley. We're gonna rock out. If you're that 40-year-old trying to feel 50, I'm not your guy either. But the 16-year-old is important to me, and always has, is because you know, that kid who wants that Jordan, man, he's getting his mom. Have you ever seen that kid? He gets his mom in the line to get that ticket for that Jordan, because he doesn't stop. It's the same thing what I was. British Walkers was what it was. Huh? Of course, the AJ Lester, the Montneck, the sheepskin hat. I know what it is. Belt buckle was so important for the girls. But that 16-year-old is very impressive with the parents, and ignite them, and then they grow up like that. And then, you know, so that person is important to me, and how he gets his music, because I'm in the music business, and how he, you know, what website he's into. All that's very important for me as they grow older, you know?
But the person with the purchases, the person who actually making the purchase is his mother. She might have listened to you when she was 20.
Uh-huh.
So why not also cater to her as well?
Well, I'm gonna cater to her, but she's not gonna buy as often as that 16-year-old. She's gonna come to the club once every 3 months. She's gonna bust something down new, you know, hope I ain't offending her, right, you know, once every 3 months. Look, I want that purchase or that listen. She's gonna tune into me, you know, holiday weekend, Christmas, she's cooking, let me turn funk on. But that 16-year-old, man, when you get him every day, you know, he's, and we're saying 16, but it's, you know, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. It's anywhere in there, but, you know, they're so, I look at them as being so important to, because it's just natural to them, man. You put two hats in front of them, like, that's trash. I like that one. That's hard. Why? Because a little logo. You learn so much in 30 seconds from them, you know? And how you were when you were a kid, I'm sure. How old are you?
35.
35. So 10 years ago, you were, you know, you came up on those South records, those Funny Dance South records, and then that, you know, that time period, you know.
Nas, Illmatic.
Nah, okay, that's a good one. Nas, Queens.
All right, so unfortunately we're out of time. I just want to quickly ask all of you to give a great big hand for these panelists. Unbelievable. Rodney Williams from LISNR, Tiffany Hardin from Gild Creative Group, Funk Flex, and Flex We Trust. Thank you, Mike. Beautiful. And we're here if you want to talk to us. And thank you, Mobile Week. Thank you, Margaret. Margaret put the panel together. Thank you, Margaret.